is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, the White House is under fire. U.S. President Donald Trump faces questions after claiming Middle Eastern nations are prepared to join the fight against Hamas in Gaza. China responds to Trump. Beijing says Taiwan's future is not up for negotiation as Presidents Trump and Xi Jinping plan a face-to-face meeting 2 weeks from now. Tensions over European airspace as Russia-Ukraine conflicts drags on. Poland warns it may intercept President Vladimir Putin's plane heading to Hungary. Moscow fires back, calling it a terrorist threat. Japan's new era of leadership. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi, the country's first female leader, outlines her foreign policy agenda, a deeper cooperation with the U.S. and Global South, and a tougher stance on immigration. Defending the Amazon. An indigenous flotilla sails across the continent to COP30, calling for stronger global action to protect the rainforest. In the Philippines, Senator Bong Go dismisses graft allegations as a distraction from the real issues plaguing the country. Contracts under scrutiny. Sunwest Corporation, a company linked to Congressman Zaldy Co, faces scrutiny over 2 billion pesos in government contracts. And in showbiz and culture, veteran director Yoji Yamada honored in Tokyo for his lifetime of iconic films and contributions to Japanese cinema. I'm Yna Mortel. Newsline World starts now. China are back at U.S. President Donald Trump's recent comments on Taiwan, insisting that Beijing alone will decide the island's future. The strong words come as Trump and President Xi Jinping prepare for a possible face-to-face meeting later this month. This report from Carla Abellana.
At a regular press conference in Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Gu Jiakun declared that Taiwan's status is not up for debate. The statement followed remarks from U.S. President Donald Trump, who said China doesn't want to invade Taiwan.
I think we'll be just fine with China. China doesn't want to do that. First of all, the United States is the strongest military power in the world by far. It's not even close. Not even close. And I don't see that at all with President Xi. I think we're going to get along very well as it pertains to Taiwan and others.
But Beijing insists that reunification remains a core national mission, even as it pledges to pursue it peacefully and patiently. The Chinese Foreign Ministry further slammed a new U.S. visa restrictions targeting Central American nationals accused of working with China, calling the move hegemonic and arrogant. Beijing and Washington are currently negotiating following a high-profile trade war, which saw both sides put huge tariffs on each other. China recently imposed tariffs on rare earths, with Trump threatening 100% more on Chinese imports in return. And this latest exchange sets the stage for a potentially tense Trump-Xi meeting in South Korea, one expected to address Taiwan, trade, and regional security. And Taiwan once again may prove to be the defining test of their uneasy relationship. For God in my beloved Philippines, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro warned that any action taken against neighboring Colombia would be considered as actions against Venezuela as tensions escalate between Washington, Bogota, and Caracas. This report from Eve Buenavent.
Maduro made the remarks during a press conference in Caracas, stressing that Venezuela and Colombia are Siamese twins bound by history and shared struggle.
Y lo que sea con Colombia es con Venezuela, y lo que sea con Venezuela es con Colombia, como me escribió un oficial militar de las fuerzas militares de Colombia hace 2 semanas. Si tocan a Venezuela, tocan a Colombia.
His comments come amid a diplomatic rift between Colombia and the United States following an incident in Caribbean waters that led to the death of a Colombian fisher. Bogota accused Washington of being responsible, demanding an investigation while U.S. President Donald Trump lashed out at his Colombian counterpart Gustavo Petro, calling him an illegal drug dealer and threatening to cut aid. Relations between Caracas and Washington have also deteriorated in recent months after Maduro accused the U.S. of deploying warships, submarines, and aircraft near Venezuelan waters under the guise of anti-narcotics operations. Maduro reaffirmed his government readiness to defend Venezuela's sovereignty, saying its national defense system is more powerful than ever. He also denounced what he called U.S. supremacism and rejected being treated as a gringo colony or a colony of the Americans.
¿Quién dijo que teníamos que ser colonia de los gringos? ¿Quién dijo? ¿Dónde está escrito? Díganme ustedes dónde está escrito. Que teníamos que ser esclavos de los multimillonarios gringos. ¿Quién dijo? De los supremacistas. ¿Entregamos la patria? ¿Entregamos nuestra libertad?
Maduro has repeatedly called for direct talks with Washington, urging an end to falsehood and military threats, insisting that peace must be built on mutual respect and truth. Eve Buenafe, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
In Indonesia, a radiation emergency has triggered one of the country's largest cleanup operations in years. Authorities have removed tons of radioactive waste following a cesium-137 leak at a steel recycling plant. Joy Tabanel has the story.
A massive cleanup. In a race against time, Indonesian emergency teams have cleared 248 tons of radioactive waste from industrial sites west of Jakarta after a cesium-137 leak sent radiation across parts of Banten province. The leak was traced to PT Peter Metal Technology, a steel smelting plant that investigators say mishandled scrap metal lace with radioactive material. Investigators believe the dangerous isotope spread as toxic dust, contaminating nearby factories, including a shrimp processing plant that exports to the United States. The alarm was first raised in August when the US FDA detected traces of cesium-137 in frozen shrimp imports, sparking a nationwide probe and an international alert.
Ya, Satgas bekerja dengan baik untuk memastikan mitigasi berjalan dengan lancar. Terlihat dari jumlah kendaraan yang keluar Cikande yang terpapar atau terkontaminasi semakin menurun. Yang perlu kami sampaikan selanjutnya adalah lokasi-lokasi yang sudah kita lakukan proses pengangkutan materialnya. Jadi di mana kerja kita adalah lokasi-lokasi kita identifikasi ini terpapar ataupun terkontaminasi oleh CS137, kita lakukan pembersihan. Nanti bisa tadi ada 13 lokasi, ini baru 2 yang sudah clear and clean, ada 2 sedang berproses, ya, yang berproses clear and clean, dan masih beberapa sedang berproses.
Contamination teams have since sealed off the affected factory and secured the radioactive waste at a temporary storage site. More than 1,500 residents and workers have been screened for radiation exposure, with 9 showing signs of contamination. The government has now temporarily suspended new scrap metal imports, citing fears the contamination may have come from foreign steel shipments. Deputy Chairman of the People's Consultative Assembly, Eddie Suparno, later claimed the radioactive material may have originated from imported steel from the Philippines. He then called for tighter oversight of metal imports and improved traceability systems. Officials expect the cleanup to wrap up by December, but environmental experts warn the radioactive threat could linger much longer. Joy Tabanel, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
In Paris, a stunning fall from power. Nicolas Sarkozy, once one of Europe's most influential leaders, is behind bars. The former French president has begun serving a 5-year prison sentence after being found guilty of taking campaign cash from the late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Sarkozy arrived with his wife Carla Bruni by his side. He became the first former French head of state ever sent to prison. Prosecutors say millions from Gaddafi's regime helped fuel Sarkozy's 2007 presidential run. Money that came from the same leader that Sarkozy would later help overthrow during NATO's intervention in 2011. Sarkozy continues to deny all charges, insisting he's the victim of political revenge. In other news, a new court ruling is stirring legal and political debate in the United States, this time over President Donald Trump's authority to deploy federal troops in Portland, Oregon. Let's find out more from Major Valdez.
A U.S. appeals court has issued a ruling in favor of President Donald Trump, allowing him to deploy federal troops to the city of Portland, Oregon, despite strong opposition from local officials. In the decision released Monday, a divided three-judge panel sided with President Trump, who argued that he has the authority to send National Guard troops to Portland to protect federal property and personnel. Meanwhile, Oregon Governor Yna Mortel is urging the full Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the ruling, citing the dissenting opinion of Portland-based Judge Susan Graber as grounds for vacating the decision. As of now, there has been no statement from the president's camp on when the troop deployment will take place. Local leaders, however, continue to question what they say is an abuse of federal power. Major Valdez, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Up next, in the Philippines, Senator Bong Go dismisses graft allegations as a distraction from real issues plaguing the country. Contracts under scrutiny, SunWest Corporation, a company linked to Congressman Zaldy Co, faces scrutiny over 2 billion pesos in government contracts. More news when Newsline World returns.
Ikaw ba ay namomroblema sa taas ng electric bill buwan-buwan? Huwag mag-alala, narito ang ilang paraan upang makatipid sa kuryente. Patayin ang mga ilaw at appliances kapag hindi ginagamit. Sa halip ay gumamit ng natural na liwanag upang makatipid sa kuryente. Tanggalin sa saksakan ang mga appliances kung hindi ginagamit. Iwasan ang paggamit ng maraming appliances ng sabay-sabay. Gumamit ng LED bulbs. Ito ay mas tipid sa kuryente kumpara sa mga incandescent at fluorescent bulbs. Regular na linisin ang mga appliances tulad ng electric fan, aircon vents at refrigerator. Magkaroon ng takdang araw sa isang linggo sa pamamalansya at paglalaba. Gumamit ng energy-efficient appliances. Tandaan, maging wais sa paggamit ng kuryente upang makatipid para mas gumaan ang buhay. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkaloob pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Newsline World is back. Senator Bong Go slammed the allegations being thrown at him by former Senator Antonio Trillanes. The senator insisted that this is part of a script or playbook meant to divert the public's attention from the real issues of corruption. Let's find out more from Troy Gomez.
On Tuesday morning, former Senator Antonio Trillanes filed plunder and graft complaints before the Office of the Ombudsman against former President Rodrigo Duterte and Senator Christopher Bong Go. According to Trillanes, Go's father, owner of CLTG Builders and Alfredo Builders, which is owned by his brother, allegedly secured billions worth of government contracts from as early as 2008 during Duterte's time as mayor of Davao City up to the present. Trillanes also said that CLTG Builders entered into a joint venture with St. Gerard Construction, owned by the Discaya family, to secure 816 million peso worth of projects under the Duterte administration from 2016 to 2022. In a press conference held that afternoon, Senator Bong Go, however, asserted that he's ready to face the complaint filed against him, but maintained that the accusations have no basis. According to Go, CLTG Builders had already completed its projects in 2021 and the company has officially retired from service.
I have been expecting this complaint, and now we are in the proper forum to prove the baselessness of his allegations. I now have the opportunity to answer him point by point before the Ombudsman and not on media anymore. I will cooperate with the investigation and abide by its legal processes.
However, in the middle of his statement, Go hit back at what he described as diversionary tactics being used to divert the public's attention from the real issue.
Ito ay isa po itong diversionary tactic para ilihis ang atensyon ng taong bayan sa tunay na mga issue. Klaro naman eh. Kahapon nga lang nabanggit ni former Governor Chavit Singson, another diversionary tactic.
Go stressed that the flood control scandal remains the real issue that should be the focus of investigations.
Ang talamak po ngayon na korupsyon, talamak ang korupsyon ngayon sa kasalukuyang gobyerno. At ang dapat talagang panagutin, ang totoong issue. Ano bang totoong issue ngayon? Diba ang flood control scandal? mga ghost projects, mga anomalous projects, mga substandard projects. Yun naman po ang issue ngayon eh. Huwag tayong lumihis sa katotohanan.
At the same time, Go directly responded to former Senator Antonio Trillanes, saying that he is using the issue for political purposes.
Sa kanina naman po, sa final sa amin ni dating Pangulong Duterte at sa kapamilya ko, to Trillanes, you are barking at the wrong tree. Kung seryoso ka talaga, bakit di mo kasuhan yung mga totoong mga corrupt talaga? Bakit di mo kasuhan yung mga financials mo? Yung mga contractor, alam mo yun.
Go also warned that an even greater turmoil could arise if the investigation would not be conducted fairly.
Magulo na po ngayon, mas gugulo po ang bayan. Magagalit po ang tao niyan. Magulo talaga ito. Pakiusap ko lang po muli. Tumbukin lang po yung katotohanan. Seek the truth, not the script, if there's any.
Reporting for Newsline World, Troy Gomez, SMNI News.
Sunwest Construction and Development Corporation, a company linked to Zaldy Co, has not only secured contracts from the Department of Public Works and Highways. It was recently discovered that the same company also obtained nearly 2 billion pesos worth of contracts from the Land Transportation Office. According to the Audit Commission's report, the buildings constructed within the agency's compound are deemed underutilized. This report from Yna Mortel.
Sunwest Construction and Development Corporation secured 3 separate projects of varying amounts from the Land Transportation Office or LTO in Quezon City. Among these are the Road Safety Interactive Center and the IT Training Hub, each costing nearly 500 million pesos. In addition, there is a Central Command Center worth almost 1 billion pesos, which was also constructed within the agency's compound in 2021. The contractor for these projects is linked to resigned Acobico Representative Zaldy Co, who is currently implicated in the alleged anomalous budget insertions involving flood control projects across the country. The newly appointed chief of the LTO finds the constructed projects questionable based on the audit report released by the Commission on Audit or COA.
Medyo napansin po ito ng COA, kaya po hanggang ngayon hindi po siya na-utilize. Kaya doon kami nag-imbestiga. Bakit? Ba't may mga building na unutilized? Unang-una ma'am, itong IT, may mga gamit dito eh. Wala po kaming mga nakikitang mga gamit eh.
It was also discovered by the new LTO chief that last year, former LTO chief Igor Mendoza II, who now serves as the LTFRB chairman, had made additional payments to Sunwest Construction Development Corporation to cover the remaining balance for the said projects. As of now, Lacanilao has yet to coordinate with Mendoza regarding the findings on the matter. However, according to the new LTO chief, the LTFRB chairman should be held accountable since he authorized the payment despite the irregularities in the projects. Here is Mendoza's response to the issue.
That's a project entered into in the last administration. No? Yung huling payment na lang ang aming binayaran dyan. Hindi halos lahat. Even before we came in, nabayaran na po yan. At saka natapos yung project, may inspection, there was an acceptance by the technical working group, and hanggang ngayon, ginagamit yung mga premises na yan. Hindi naman kami nagbayad ng full niyan, we just, yung huling tranche lang po aming kinover niyan, nung tapos na yung project.
Mendoza, for his part, expressed willingness to cooperate with the investigation, emphasizing that their transactions with the said constructor were properly documented. As for the LTO side,
sa ngayon po, nag-gather lang po kami ng mga data, information, then i-forward po namin sa ICI para po sila po yung makapag-imbestiga dito.
Meanwhile, the LTO has turned over the Bureau of Customs the luxury car Lamborghini that was seized in Taguig last week. The vehicle, owned by Korean national, was confiscated after it was found being driven without a license plate. It was also discovered that the importer of the Lamborghini is the same importer of the 13 allegedly smuggled luxury cars owned by the spouses Sara and Curly Descaya.
Iniimbestigahan ho namin yung mga tao na nasa aming hanay na kung sino nagproseso ng papel ng sasakyan. Kasi alam po natin, nakita natin doon, may pagkakamali.
Ito ay papasok doon sa seizure proceedings din namin. At kung meron pagkakamali, again, ang mga tao ng BOC, masasama yan sa ating iimbestigahan. Kasabay na ito ng mga iba pang mga sasakyan.
For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Yna Mortel, SMNI News.
Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla announced that next month, individuals involved in the anomalous flood control projects are expected to be charged. In a press conference on Tuesday afternoon, Remulla said they will file cases at the Sandigan Bayan in November. This is to hold accountable the individuals involved in billions worth of corruption in the country's flood control projects.
By November, didikdikin natin yan na lalong madaling panahon ay magkakaso na tayo na umaandar sa Sandigan Bayan o kaya sa RTC kung sino man ang mayroong jurisdiction dito.
Remulla previously said that the Sandigan Bayan is already drafting new rules to speed up the process of filing complaints related to the flood control projects. In line with this, Remulla also said that they will start the preliminary investigation on Thursday, October 23, into the complaints filed with the DOJ regarding the flood control anomalies. This also aims to accelerate the preliminary investigation process.
Ang preliminary investigation, maabot ang 1 year allowable under the rules dito. We will change it also. At ang gusto namin 60 days tapos ang PI. Issues immediately. At the rest will be history na lang.
This is to ensure the swift progress of the cases and to hold those involved in corruption accountable immediately. The Philippine Justice Department's panel of prosecutors has concluded the hearings on the complaints filed by the PNP's Criminal Investigation and Detection Group and the families of the missing cockfighters against Atong Ang, Gretchen Barreto, and 60 others. The panel will review all submitted documents before releasing a decision on whether to dismiss the complaints or file charges in court. Margot Gonzalez tells us more.
The cases of murder, kidnapping, and serious illegal detention, passport tampering, enforced disappearances, and 3 other complaints against Atong Ang, Gretchen Barreto, and 60 others in connection with the disappearance of several cockfighters have been submitted for resolution. This came after the complainants informed the panel during Tuesday's hearing that they would no longer file a reply to the counter-affidavits submitted by the respondents. Out of the 62 respondents, 56 were able to submit their counter-affidavits, including the Ang family and Gretchen Barreto. According to Prosecutor Charlie Guhit, the panel of prosecutors will thoroughly review all the submissions before releasing a decision or resolution on the complaints, whether to dismiss them or file the cases in court.
The panel will try to resolve the case as soon as possible within the period provided by the rules. So right now, wala pang specific date when are we going to issue the resolution for this case. Because there are a lot of documents submitted.
Atong Ang lawyers said that complainants have no credible evidence to prove Ang's guilt.
The evidences submitted do not have enough credibility, enough to establish what's called the quantum of evidence for prima facie case, with enough evidence to have a probable outcome of a guilty verdict.
In Ang's counter-affidavit, he requested that the complaints be returned to the PNP-CIDG for a proper reinvestigation to finally clear his name. However, according to Guhit,
way forward is to resolve the case. So it's either dismissal ang case or for filing. If the case is dismissed, they can refile the same with the Department of Justice by submitting what are the documents lacking or testimonies of the witnesses that will be submitted in addition to the complaint. So ganun lang ang mangyayari. It's up to the complainants whether they will refer again the matter to the PNP or CIDG for the conduct of another investigation, assuming that the case will be dismissed. it would be absurd for the respondents when cases are dismissed to refer the matter for investigation. The complainants lang ang gagawa nun. It's not a respondent.
Whistleblower Julie Patidongan, who is also a respondent in the complaints, submitted a sworn statement instead of a counter affidavit. He believes that he will not be charged in court and expressed confidence in the DOJ's investigation.
Alam naman natin talaga lahat kung sino ang mastermind dito. Alam naman nila na hindi naman ako basta-basta lulutang ng ganito. Within 16 years ako kay Mr. Atungang kung wala akong pinanghawakan.
Meanwhile, the retrieval operations at Taal Lake are still ongoing. From July 10 to October 12, the Philippine Coast Guard has conducted 60 diving operations. According to DOJ spokesperson Polo Martinez, nearly 1,000 bones have been recovered, of which more than 800 are believed to be human remains. However, he said there are still no DNA results that can be used as evidence in the DOJ hearings on the complaints against Atungang and others.
Well, wala pa pong evidence sufficient to proceed. Hindi po fair statement to say na walang evidence totally, but again, for us to say kasi as of now that the evidence is sufficient na meron na talaga would be premature. And again, the department wants to make it clear that the assessment of the evidence will be based entirely on the panel of prosecutors. Okay, so unless they have issued a resolution, hindi po tayo pwede magsalita as of this moment.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Margaret Gonzalez, SBNay News.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines assure that the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, National Democratic Front or CPP-NPA-NDF has completely lost its meaning and influence. Aside from the collapse of their guerrilla fronts, the AFP says no more youth from universities and state colleges are being recruited anymore. Here's a report from Franco Baranda.
Well, in terms of our internal security operations, sir, from 7 that was reported weekend guerrilla fronts, we are down to 1. And yung 1 na po yun is for formal na release na 0 na yung weekend guerrilla fronts. Meaning, sobrang konti na lang po ito, kaya nga weekend, and they are not already able to lodge major atrocities, so to speak. With this po, ang tinitingnan natin dyan, with this statistic, hindi na po sila gaanong nakaka-recruit towards their rank. And wala na pong ganong support na malaki na nakukuha sila. In fact, ang support po para po pro the government.
According to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the ideology carried by the CPP-NPA-NDF, which deceived thousands of young people more than 5 decades ago, no longer holds relevance in the present time. AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla stated that the remaining influence of the group is gradually fading as their numbers continue to decline due to the successive surrender of members and the dismantling of their organizations in rural areas. The AFP also said that the government's intensified campaign against recruitment in schools and various sectors of society has greatly contributed to the downfall of the CPP, NPA, and DF.
Kapag ka na-declare na natin na insurgency-free yung area, the AFP will still remain to have forces to maintain the peace that we have gained. Para din dito po, nandito tayo sa coordination and collaboration natin with other agencies to maintain this. Andyan po yung ating NTF-LCAC, andyan po ang ating OPAPRU, and all other agencies working on this.
Aside from the mentioned agencies, the Commission on Higher Education, student councils, and parents are also working together, resulting in a decline in the number of young people being enticed by the CPP, NPA, NDF's propaganda. Meanwhile, AFP spokesperson Padilla also emphasized the alleged false information being spread by the CPP, NPA, NDF to create the impression that their organization's operations are still ongoing.
Ang pinaka-emphasis natin is misinformation and disinformation. So everybody will try to seem to project that they are still relevant kahit hindi na po, no? But ito po talaga yung kina-counter natin as of this time. So ang panawagan nga po natin is magkaisa tayo towards hindi natin i-proliferate ang mga misinformation and disinformation.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
The West Philippine Sea is ours. That is the message the Blessed Movement wants to convey to Filipinos. They led the unveiling of a mural painting in Manila as a peaceful way to express that the West Philippine Sea belongs to the country. This is a story from Margot Gonzalez.
The Blessed Movement believes it is important to remind all Filipinos that the West Philippine Sea, or WPS, belongs to the country as it is reportedly being claimed by other nations. Therefore, the group, together with the National Youth Commission and the Manila Local Government Unit, led the unveiling of a large mural in a part of Manila despite the rain to raise awareness among Filipinos, especially the youth, about the disputed territory. They say this is their peaceful way of asserting that the said sea belongs to the Filipino people.
Tayo naman po ay hindi po nakikipaglaban o hindi nakikipagdigmaan sa China. I-exercise lang po natin ang ating karapatan doon po sa West Philippine Sea. Sa lahat po ng mamamayang Pilipino, sa ating mga kababayan, naway tayo po ay maging mapagmatsyag po sa ating kapaligiran, lalo-lalo na po sa West Philippine Sea. Ipakita po natin ang ating pong karapatan na dapat pong atin.
The mural was painted by the artist Jun Aquino, who voluntarily created the artwork using donated paints. He was assisted by several young people.
Parang siyang sira. Nung nabigyan ako ng break, nabigyan ng ganyang kalaking canvas, naisip ko agad yung West Philippine Sea. Gawing kulay asul ang buong bakod na to. At ilagay yung ating statement. Amin ito, ang West Philippine Sea. Unang idea ko nga dyan, nagka-idea ako, dragon ang ilalagay ko. Pero naisip ko, China agad din nasa isip. Kailangan peaceful kasi magmumukhang gera eh. Kaya ang ginawa ko, parang people power na lang. Lahat ng klaseng tao nandiyan, mayaman, mahirap, fisherman, kapit-bisig lahat.
According to the Blessed Movement, they plan to create more mural artworks like this to more effectively convey the message and remind Filipinos of their rights in the West Philippine Sea. They also said they will place mural paintings in other parts of the city, such as Menjola in Manila and certain areas in Quezon City. The Manila LGU assured that they will protect the artwork against vandalism and ensure that it remains visible to the public.
Bilang nasa City of Manila naman na po kami na po mismo yung magsasaayos na yung mga sasakyan po na nandito is hindi po sana makapag-park para makita po natin yung statement po na ginawa natin dito sa wall po. Si Yorme is po talaga, nagsabi siya na yung mga ganitong type po ng mga painting and arts is wag po sanang babuyin.
For God and beloved Philippines, this is Margot Gonzalez, SMNI News.
When we come back, tensions over European airspace as Russia-Ukraine conflict drags on. Poland warns it may intercept President Vladimir Putin's plane heading to Hungary. Moscow fires back, calling it a terrorist threat. Japan's new era of leadership. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi, the country's first female leader, outlines her foreign policy agenda, a deeper cooperation with the U.S. and Global South, and a tougher stance on immigration. Defending the Amazon, an indigenous flotilla sails across the continent to COP30, calling for stronger global action to protect the rainforest. Don't go away, Newsline World will be back.
Sa tuwing bumabaha, hindi lang seguridad ang nalalagay sa alanganin, pati na rin ang kalusugan. Isa sa mga bantang dapat iwasan, ang leptospirosis. Ano nga ba ito? Ito ay isang sakit na dulot ng bakterya na tinatawag na leptospira. Nakukuha ito sa pamamagitan ng kontak sa ihi ng mga hayop na may leptospira tulad ng mga daga. Pwede itong makuha sa pagsulong sa baha o pag-inom ng kontaminadong tubig. Nakakapasok ito sa katawan sa pamamagitan ng mga sugat, mata, ilong o bibig. Ang mga sintomas nito ay lagnat, mapulang mata, hirap umihi, masakit na tiyan, masakit na kalamnan, at masakit na ulo. Paano nga ba maiiwasan ang leptospirosis? Ugaliin ang tamang pagtatapon ng basura dahil ang mga maruruming lugar ang kadalasang pinupuntahan ng dagang may dalang leptospirosis. Iwasang lumusong, maglaro o lumangoy sa baha, lalo na kapag may sugat. Gumamit ng bota at gloves kung hindi maiiwasang lumusong sa tubig baha. Sugpuin ang mga daga sa bahay at panatilihin ang kalinisan sa komunidad. Hubig at sabon ang mga paa matapos lumusong sa baha. Sa kalinisan ng bawat isa, nakasalalay ang kaligtasan ng buong komunidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Hoy, magnanakaw! Tingin! Pulis ka! Hala, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Uy, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Ano kayang gagawin ko? Ipamimigay ko yung konti para tumigil sila sa pag-iingay.
Pare, magnanakaw, namimigay ng pera.
Eto ang sayo.
Wow! Ang bait ng magnanakaw!
Eto naman sayo.
Kuya, yung
eto
share ko! Sana
Huwag ka nang maingay. Eto pa. Tama na yan. Nakikipalato lang kayo eh. Huwag nang maingay. Diba? Konti lang pinamigay ko, mabait na ako. Tahimik na sila. Easy. Ngayon, pwede ko na tong suluhin.
Masaya ang mga tao, pero tama po ba ito? Di po ba ang nakikinabang sa magnanakaw ay kasabwat ng magnanakaw?
Ikaw, kinukonsenti mo ba ang legal na korupsyon?
Amid renewed violence in Gaza, a new statement from the White House is stirring fresh debate over possible foreign involvement in the region. Let's hear the latest from Zaldy Co-linked.
United States President Donald Trump is once again making headlines, this time claiming that several Middle Eastern countries have offered to send troops to Gaza to combat Hamas. Trump made a statement Tuesday in his social media platform Truth Social amid continued tensions in the region despite an existing ceasefire. He said that some U.S. allies in the Middle East were willing to deploy significant military force to target the militant group, though he did not name the countries involved. Trump also mentioned Indonesia and its supposed support in the region. However, reports indicate that while some nations, including Indonesia, have expressed interest in peacekeeping roles, none have confirmed plans to directly engage Hamas. Trump said he advised these countries to wait, expressing hope that Hamas will adhere to the current ceasefire. Despite the truce announced on the 10th of October, nearly 100 Palestinians have reportedly been killed in renewed Israeli strikes. Over the weekend, the Israeli military said Hamas had violated the agreement and 2 of its fighters had killed 2 Israeli soldiers in Rafah. As of now, both Hamas and the Indonesian government have yet to issue any official response to Trump's statements. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Zaldy Co-linked. SMNA News.
Tensions are rising in Europe after Poland warned it could intercept Russian President Vladimir Putin's plane if he flies over Polish airspace en route a summit in Hungary with U.S. President Donald Trump. Paul Montibon files this report.
Polish Foreign Minister Władysław Sikorski issued a warning that Warsaw would be legally bound to execute the International Criminal Court's warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin's arrest. Sikorski said Putin's aircraft should take a different route if the summit goes ahead, and that Ukraine, which he called as the victim of the aggression, should be invited to participate. The ICC issued an arrest warrant against Putin in 2023, although Russia is not a member of the ICC. The court is pressuring member states to detain Putin if he enters their territory. On the other hand, Bulgaria's Foreign Minister Yoji Yamada said his country would allow Putin to fly through its airspace if meeting takes place in Budapest. Moscow quickly fired back with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accusing Poland of making terrorist threats against Putin's aircraft.
На продолжение таковой вот деятельности по-прежнему сейчас Зеленского и его команду провоцируют и поляки, которые оправдали этот террористический акт, имея в виду удары по северным потокам. И поляки теперь и сами готовы совершать террористические акты. Вот я тут слышал, что господин Сикорский угрожал, что безопасность самолета президента Путина в случае его направления в Будапешт на предлагаемый вероятный саммит с Трампом, безопасность Путина в воздушном пространстве Польши обеспечена.
Lavrov linked Poland's warning to what he called its role in justifying the 2022 Nord Stream explosions, arguing that Poland's action exposed a pattern of hostility towards Russia. The controversy comes as plans continue for another possible summit in Budapest between Putin and Trump. Russia also rejected reports suggesting that Putin-Trump meeting have been suspended, accusing Ukraine's European backers of attempting to sabotage the talks. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montemon, SMNI News.
In Japan, the country's first female prime minister, Sanai Takeichi, has vowed to strengthen Japan's alliance with the United States and deepen cooperation with countries across the global south. Let's take a look at her speech.
自由で開かれたインド太平洋を外交の柱として引き続き力強く推進し、時代に合わせて進化させ、基本的価値を共有する同志国やグローバルサウス諸国との連携を深める。
Takeichi, who took office following Shigeru Ishiba's resignation, also expressed hope to meet President Donald Trump soon, with the aim to lift Japan-US relations to even greater heights. But at home, she's a hardliner on illegal immigration. Takeichi said Japan will not tolerate illegal immigration or false asylum claims, vowing to deport those she described as fake refugees who enter for economic reasons. After 2 attempts for the top post, Takeichi finally secured the LDP's backing and a parliamentary majority. This makes her the 4th prime minister in 5 years from the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. In other news, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. reiterated his administration's commitment to responsible and inclusive mining, stressing that government will strictly enforce the laws against irresponsible mining activities. President Catarong reports.
Speaking at the opening of the Mining Philippines 2025 International Conference and Exhibition in Bonifacio Global City, Taguig City on Wednesday, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. emphasized that irresponsible mining practices will not be tolerated. He pointed out that mining should not harm the environment or communities, but instead contribute to nation building and sustainable development.
Irresponsible mining has no place in our nation. We will strictly enforce the laws against practices that destroy forests, that poison rivers, that endanger lives. Mining should build communities, not burden them.
Marcos also stated that mining revenues should result in tangible improvements in public services such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure.
Regarding the revenues from mining, it must bring tangible benefits to the people. The wealth from our soil should translate into schools for our children, hospitals for families, and roads that link people with opportunities.
To ensure this, the President highlighted ongoing efforts to boost transparency and accountability in the mining sector. He commended the Chamber of Mines of the Philippines for adopting the Towards Sustainable Mining program, making the country the first in Asia to implement this globally recognized environmental and governance standard. Marcos Jr. also recognized industry leaders for supporting the extractive industry's transparency initiative, which promotes responsible use of mining revenues for national development. Themed From Policy to Progress, Driving Mining Through Innovation and Investment, the 2-day event gathers local and international mining leaders to explore the future of the industry in the Philippines and beyond. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Kerseling Catarong, SMNI News.
Dozens of indigenous representatives from across the Amazon basin arrived in Iquitos, Peru aboard the Yakumama Flotilla, a 3,000-kilometer boat caravan traveling to the COP30 Climate Summit in Belém, Brazil, to raise awareness of the struggles faced by Amazonian communities amid deforestation and fossil fuel expansion. This is a story from Jane Cognita.
The Yakumama Flotilla, which means Mother Water in Quechua, is crossing the Amazon River as a symbol of resistance and environmental unity. Its members come from countries including Mexico, Guatemala, Panama, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Brazil, and even Indonesia, all advocating for climate justice and indigenous rights.
Estamos aquí reunidos con varios amigos, varios colectivos, todos digamos con un mismo fin, ¿no? Que es documentar y poder digamos visibilizar todas las problemáticas que tienen las comunidades a través del río Amazonas.
The flotilla is part of the Muyuna Festival, a floating film initiative born in Loreto, Peru, that amplifies indigenous voices through workshops, screenings, and storytelling.
En Loreto cada año hacemos proyecciones y talleres aquí en la Amazonía peruana y defiende sobre todo las demandas de los pueblos indígenas, ¿no? Desde los delitos ambientales que se cometen aquí, la falta de oportunidades y la falta de escucha para los pueblos indígenas, el empoderamiento femenino.
For the participants, the journey is also an act of solidarity, a way to connect different struggles across borders and bring attention to the impacts of deforestation and extractive industries.
La flotilla es la articulación de los sueños de muchos pueblos, por hacernos justicia como pueblos y sobre todo para hermanarnos entre los territorios y luchas, porque como las empresas transnacionales se organizan fuera de las fronteras de los estados-nación, nosotros también queremos construir solidaridad entre los pueblos como acción y justicia climática y justicia ambiental.
The group's arrival in Iquitos coincides with growing concern over the Amazon's rapid deforestation. According to Andean Amazon Project, 2024 marked the worst year in a decade, with 4 million hectares of primary forest lost to fires and illegal mining, 36% of which occurred in protected and indigenous territories.
Somos nós que cuidamos do meio ambiente, da flora, da fauna. Então, com isso, não somos nós que temos que aprender. Nós temos que ensinar para eles justamente ver o que eles estão causando para dentro do meio ambiente, destruindo a natureza.
The Yakumama Flotilla will continue toward Leticia, Colombia, before reaching Belém in time for COP30, where its members plan to deliver their message of climate justice directly to world leaders. As the flotilla moves downstream, its message flows with it, urging government to protect the Amazon, not just as a forest, but as a living heart of the planet. This has been Jane Cognita, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
A city known as China's fireworks capital has once again proven its creative spark, setting 2 Guinness World Records with a dazzling drone and fireworks show that combine heritage with cutting-edge technology. This is a story from Anisa de Guzman.
Nearly 16,000 drones lit up the night sky over Liaoyang City, Hunan Province, in a breathtaking fusion of technology and artistry that set 2 new Guinness World Records and reinforced the city's legacy as China's fireworks capital. The skies above central China transformed into a glowing canvas as thousands of drones moved in perfect harmony to form a stunning tree of life and a giant flower, their luminous shapes unfolding against the darkness. Golden fireworks then cascaded down like a liquid gold waterfall, creating a moment of pure visual magic. The record-breaking performance earned Liaoyang 2 Guinness World Records, one for the largest number of drones launched simultaneously by a single computer, and another for the largest aerial display featuring 7,496 drones equipped with fireworks, doubling the previous world record. Spectators both on-site and online were awed by the seamless blend of innovation and tradition. The show's theme, "A Firework Belonging to Me," paid tribute to Liaoyang's centuries-old heritage as the birthplace of fireworks while showcasing its embrace of modern, eco-friendly aerial artistry. Liaoyang, which now hosts creative fireworks and drone shows every Saturday, continues to draw visitors from across China and the world. Its ever-evolving celebrations of light and technology not only honor its cultural roots, but also shine as a beacon of creativity and progress. I am Anisa de Guzman, your Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
In today's showbiz news, Jelly Roll proudly reveals his new look following a massive weight loss journey, and celebrated Japanese filmmaker Yoji Yamada will be honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award at the 37th Tokyo International Film Festival for his decades-long contribution to Japanese cinema. Stella Maris has more on this.
Jelly Roll is rolling out a new look. American singer-songwriter Jelly Roll is proudly showing off his dramatic 200-pound weight loss as he arrives in Australia for his upcoming tour. The artist, known for blending hip-hop and country music, is gearing up for his Down Under tour with 9 shows scheduled across Australia from the 24th of October to the 6th of November 2025. Jelly Roll, born Jason Bradley DeFord in Nashville, Tennessee, began his fitness journey in 2022. In April of this year, he revealed that he had dropped from 540 pounds to 357 pounds, a major transformation. The singer has been open about struggling with obesity since childhood, describing how it made life incredibly difficult. He's best known for his hit song, Son of a Sinner, which reached #1 on country radio and helped solidify his place as a genre-crossing artist with raw, heartfelt storytelling. Meanwhile, one of Japan's most celebrated filmmakers is receiving one of cinema's highest honors. The Tokyo International Film Festival will honor legendary director Yoji Yamada for his lasting impact on Japanese and global cinema. At 93 years old, Yamada has directed over 90 films across 7 decades, including the beloved It's Tough Being a Man or Tora-san series, one of Japan's longest-running film franchises. Festival organizers praised him for portraying everyday Japanese life with warmth, humor, and humanity. Yamada began his career at Shuchiko Studios in the 1950s and rose to international acclaim with The Twilight Samurai, an Oscar-nominated film in 2002. This year's Tokyo International Film Festival runs from the 27th of October to the 5th of November, featuring a retrospective of his works and the premiere of his latest film, Tokyo Taxi, ahead of its release on the 21st of November. Yoji Yamada, a true master of Japanese cinema. This is Stella Maris, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest show buzz.
In sports, England rugby legend Emily Scarratt has officially retired just weeks after capturing her second World Cup title with the Red Roses, while American chess grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, a former child prodigy and one of the most influential figures in modern chess, has passed away at the age of 29. Here's Carlo de la Peña for more.
5-year-old center leaves the game as England's all-time leading scorer with 754 points and an impressive record that includes 11 Six Nations crowns and a 2019 World Player of the Year award. Scarratt made history earlier this year as the first England player, male or female, to appear in 5 Rugby World Cups. She famously delivered a match-winning performance in the 2014 final, scoring 16 of England's 21 points to defeat Canada. After recovering from a career-threatening neck injury in 2023, Scarratt capped her comeback by helping England reclaim the world title. She now turns her focus to coaching, joining Loughborough Lightning and the Rugby Football Union in mentoring roles, saying she's grateful for the teammates, memories, and experiences rugby has given her. Meanwhile, the Charlotte Chess Center in North Carolina, where Naroditsky trained and coached, announced his death, remembering him as a gifted player, educator, and beloved member of the chess community. The cause of death has not been revealed. Known by fans as Danya, Naroditsky earned the Grandmaster title at 18 after winning the Under-12 World Championship and authoring several chess books as a teenager. He was ranked among the world's top 200 players and excelled in Blitz chess, recently claiming the U.S. National Blitz Championship title in August. Aside from competing, Naroditsky was celebrated for bringing chess to a wider audience through live streams and tutorials on YouTube and Twitch, inspiring countless new players. Fellow grandmasters, including Hikaru Nakamura and Benjamin Bok, paid tribute to his passion, intelligence, and humility, calling him a true ambassador of the game. A Stanford graduate and lifelong advocate for chess education, Naroditsky leaves behind a legacy that continues to shape and inspire the global chess community. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
A series of powerful earthquakes struck San Isidro Davao Oriental, leaving residents without homes, livelihoods, and peace of mind. Let's find out the current situation of the people there. Here is Jean Domingo with the report.
Lord! Ikaw ko mga anak, Lord! Lord! Jesus! Jesus! Lord God! Lord!
The 7.4 magnitude earthquake followed just a few hours later by another 6.9 tremor on October 10, 2025. Did not only shook the ground, it also shattered the very foundation of life for the people of San Isidro, Manay, Davao Oriental. From their homes to their livelihoods, the devastation was immense, and the fear and anxiety it brought will remain etched in their memories. The terror that engulfed the town was indescribable. According to survivors, it felt as if the entire world was collapsing around them. One of them is Jeneline, who is 6 months pregnant. At the height of the earthquake, their refrigerator fell on her body. Because of the strong shaking, her child was even thrown across the room. And in that moment, she thought it was the end for them.
Ito po yung ref at napit may madatuganani. Paana na mo, giana na po diri para lang may makagawas. Mao to paggawas na mo, nasirad-an na din na mas abri. Kaning pintuan. May gani pag nakagawas pa mi. Wag yun, wag na may nabugok ng diri sulod. Akong bata to, kato na lang akong giuna-una nga para makagawas, may sa gawas. May ragani kay nakagawas.
Hadlok ka?
Hadlok mo lang. Hindi na bumubukas. May gani kay nakagawas, inigawas na mo ba?
Yun na, hindi na siya mabuksan.
Hindi na siya mabuksan. Gumulindol na dito akong bata, ako na po dang gibot ni kay para makakuan. Sige na po miga, kuan. May na gani kay nakagawas mi.
Ang bata, naghilak?
Naghilak. Ay, wala siya naghilak kay natulog man. Pag inig, kuan niya, latog dito, naghilak na siya kay nakuyawan siguro ang bata. May gani, akong giangko pang bata nga. Tama na din na siguro ta makagawas kay sige ramimig ka, kuan. Huyog sa lindol. Ang pasalamatan ako ang Ginoo kay kung di pa siya, wala na unta mi. Adlok ng kuan. Nilang unta nakagawas mi. Sige ko gihilak sa akong bata. Ako na ang gigakos. Para makagawas ko. Pasalamat ako na kay nakagawas ko.
For Feli, the fear she felt was doubled. With tears in her eyes, she recalled running up to the higher part of the barangay, crying, shouting, and praying that her pregnant daughter, who was alone at home, was safe.
Nilakaw ko. Nakataod-taod. Hilak naman, nagguyong-guyong naman. Naghanap ko sa akong kayak dito sa ubos na. Chin-chin! Ayaw paggawas kay Linog. Ayaw paggawas. Din, sabayan na ako pag-ampo. Ginoo. Iho pa lang katalagman kay may tungod ang akong anak dito sa ibabaw. Way! Kauban. Taka ko dire, ingon daw niya, Mamay, ako po dito gimong ko. Chin-chin, gawas ng sang bahay at tukaw sang gawas. Din, pagpanik ko nga ni kay ma'am, hawid ko ng mga sakot bitaw, parang maka saka ko.
Isot ma'am kay
sige na. Ang sagbot akong gigunitan, pag makasaka ko, anong na naman ko po sa ubos, naligid na po ko dito. Chin-chin! Ayaw yun sa sulod. Di ay ning isa, nasa sulod na, ana na dito, nagkota siyang bata. Then, gabot na ako diri, hangak ko. Tumagod ko nga, ay salamat, nakita na akong anak dito.
While some were paralyzed by fear, others literally lost their homes. Edilon could only stand helplessly as his hard-earned house crumbled before his eyes. There was nothing he could do but witness the tragedy. But even after losing his property, he remained thankful for his life and the safety of his family, a gratitude that gave him strength.
Nagtrabaho man ko.
Trabaho ka?
Nagtrabaho ko kay tanang akong mga pamilya nagkuha ko sila nagilak. Kay nakailak dito ka. Tatay distiwa gid nga nga mapangitabo. Karon lang gid. Sa man ako pagabot nang ko. Man naman agsa naman ang balay nako. Hindi lang naglingod-lingod lang. Ginauna kung sa akong pagkuana ning balay nga ng anak. Wa mga gituyo. Adton na sa kuan pangitabo.
First time ko na itabo dito sa Manila.
First time lang yun. Kalalang yun. Una, pasalamat yun. Sa Ginoo yun. Kung dili pa ang Ginoo, matay ka yun. Dito ng asawa na ako, apit maagbungan sa kuhan, gawa sila ito eh. Gising kayo. Namali, alas 10 na ng oras ato. Hindi siya, suot sa kuhan, gawa sila. Diyan lang sila, gawas.
Ayun nga, may mga mga sumunod pa na linog ba? Kasi anong nararamdaman niyo yan? May takot pa ba? Naturoma na mo?
Kasi, hindi matakot yun. Pero ginang, basig nga ng unang linog, basig mo, nga ng tigapon. Ano ito, mahal ito. Bakit gano'n dito? Basig, sige mo ko ng kuwan nyo tadiri. Dito ang pintuan na.
Ito nakaharap sa atin. Tapos bintana to yan.
Bintana, dali.
Hindi na siya makilala yan. Gano'n siya kataas yan? Gano'n sa...
Dapat sa kuwan, kanang kahoy. Ubus-ubus pa sa kahoy.
So, ito na yung bahay mo ngayon yan. Asa mo nagpuyo ngayon yan?
Yan lang.
Dito sa ano? Kung saan po yung sikot mo?
Okay naman kay. Marag nagkakuang ko naman kay. Nawala ito katakot. Kung banggi dito.
Despite the destruction and loss, the residents of San Isidro remain resilient.
Pastor Kibuloy, yes, thank you so much for having such a big heart for us, especially with us Dabaweños, Oriental Dabaweños. You know how we are, we really need the help that we can get so much, and even without us directly inviting you, you just have that sensitive heart to really be here just to help. So salamat talaga. And again, for whatever it is, we just keep the faith, continue to pray for us to be safe and peaceful and order.
Sa mga residente po ng Barangay San Isidro, tayo na may lahat tayo biktima nito at saka hindi tayo talaga nakapaghanda. Pero alam ko na may Diyos tayo sa itaas, hindi tayo pababayaan. So sa ganitong paraan, alam ko na may mga tao din ginamit ng Panginoon gaya niyo na magpunta sa amin at saka mabigyan kami kahit paano, masharean po kami ng mga blessing na galing sa iyo, particularly po sa SMNI.
In the aftermath of the tragedy, SMNI Foundation Incorporated immediately mobilized to deliver aid to the affected residents of San Isidro. Truckloads of water, sacks of rice, pails of groceries and free meals were prepared for families who lost their homes and livelihoods. Amid fear and ruin, this swift response brought hope and strength to the community. The story of San Isidro shows that in times of need, there are always hands willing to help and hearts ready to care. What SMNI Foundation Incorporated, together with generous donors, some of whom even chose to remain anonymous, is doing here proves that it is possible to deliver aid without corruption. It is possible to help the people honestly. Not everyone is greedy or self-serving. there are still genuine and selfless hearts who, even without power or position, are ready to serve the people. Reporting from San Isidro, Davao Oriental, for God and for my beloved country, this has been Jean Domingo, SM9 News.
The SMA Foundation Incorporated would like to thank all volunteers and generous sponsors who supported its relief efforts for the earthquake victims in Davao Oriental. Those who wish to help the foundation's ongoing mission may send their donations via GCash at 0995-284-9117 or 0917-714-1820. And before we end, may be inspired with the words of the Sun. Humility and sincerity are what counts in the character of a man. And as we keep track of the countdown, there's only 64 days left before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Yna Mortel. Thank you for watching.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.